Welcome to the SE Kids at Home podcast. The vision behind these podcasts is to inspire families to take a deeper dive into family discipleship outside the walls of our church. Today, I have Brian and Karissa with us today. So welcome. So glad you guys are here.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And so we're going to talk about the power of our words and specifically how as Christ followers, our words have the power to inspire, to encourage, but also to tear down. And so I'm excited to have you guys on. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, your family, your roles here at Southeast.
Yeah, Brian and Karissa Seitz. We have been here
Long time.
a long time. Seems hard to believe, a little over 20 years now. Moved our family, our young family here. Karissa was pregnant with our youngest, fourth child when we moved here. And so we really have raised our family here in the context of ministry at Southeast. I'm currently the campus pastor at the LaGrange campus and love serving out there with that community and that campus family.
Did you say we have 4 kids?
I did.
Okay, yeah. I was making sure you didn't leave anybody out. I am here at the Blankenbaker campus, and I work in anti-sex trafficking full-time. I was in women's ministry a long time, and now I do that full-time. So that's changed the speed of a lot of things in our household. I mean, you got 2 parents in ministry, so yeah, it's kind of unpredictable, but good.
Right. Absolutely.
Most days.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure your kids have had the opportunity to hear the words that you speak and see the words that you speak, having both of you in ministry. How have you guys been intentional with your words and teaching your kids how to use their words as Christ followers, both when they were children, but even now I know they're all growing adults. And so tell us a little bit about that.
We were talking about that, as we were thinking about having this conversation with you. And I think there were a lot of little ways that at the time, I'm not sure we were especially strategic about, but that we had made a conscious decision that we wanted to be intentional with what we said to our kids, with what we said about the church to our kids, with how we described ministry and what we felt like God had called us to do. And so I feel like we tried to speak to our kids with a lot of grace and truth, not to be cliche, but to make sure that we were not expecting too many rules or too strict with our expectations on them, certainly not in a way that was discouraging or defeating to them, but in a way that said, things are going to be different in our house because Jesus is the Lord and the leader here.
Well, and we got better with each kid. I mean, I feel like we,
so true.
Yes.
I can relate. Our oldest, Blakely, poor thing, she was the guinea pig in a lot of ways, but we learned how we sounded. And we had an open dialogue a lot with each other, which I think is really important to be able to say, do you know how that sounded? Because sometimes you just don't know how you sound.
Yeah, but sometimes it was less about even what we said,
but
about how we said it. Even
So
now,
true.
our
So
kids
true.
are all adults in their 20s. I was having a phone conversation the other night with one of my boys, and what I said was fine, but I got a little side eye from Karissa going, you sound like you're upset with him. And I wasn't. We were talking pretty factually about some things, but we wanted to be careful to sound positive and to, sound uplifting and encouraging regularly.
Yeah. Encouragement is huge with kids, with small kids and with big kids. And I don't mean flattery. I don't mean just cheering your kid on about making them feel good. I don't mean that. I mean like putting courage into them is really important in everyday things. Because to them, a lot of things are a first time that aren't to us, and it's just easy to forget that. So even with our kids, 20-somethings, I'm like, when he's on the phone, I'll even say, put the courage in, because this is still new to them, so many things. And something that you said too about how do you talk to you said it with the church. How you talk about the church is really important. And when you asked us to do this, I thought, I'm going to tell parents this because this is so important that we didn't know, that we corrected. On the way home from church, so often we would say, did you like church? Did you like it? What did you like? And as we've gotten older, I'm like, that is the wrong question. The question is, did God like it? What do you think God liked? What do you think he enjoyed? Did you have fun about him.
Yeah.
Did you love being with him? Do you think the other kids loved being with him?
What did his words say to you today?
What did he say?
Challenged you? What did his spirit speak to you?
Yeah.
And it is shifting their expectation of
the church and people.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether it's for them in terms of being like a consumer of that versus being for the glory of God, and it changes everything. Mm-hmm. And so we would be intentional, try to be more intentional about that. We wanted to make sure we weren't negative about the church. It's easy to complain about a leader or about our schedule, and man, we wanted our kids, and we were pretty careful about that the whole time they were growing up. We want our kids to love serving and love being at the church as much as we did. Yeah. And so there were a lot of times where we tried to be really filtered, recognizing that our view of, their view of Jesus or ministry or the church or the Bible would be directly related to how we talked about it. Yeah. Was it a chore? Was it a job? Was it a burden? Or was it a joy?
Was it just fun? Yeah, it was just awesome to learn. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, along those same lines, when we think about sharing the gospel, sharing the good news of Jesus, how have you guys modeled that or been intentional through your words of teaching your kids, hey, here's what it looks like to share the good news of Jesus with others?
And we have kind of stumbled through this, quite honestly, in a lot of seasons of our marriage and parenting. But one of the things that we kind of adopted early on was we were going to say yes as frequently as we could, kind of if it was in our power to do so, and an opportunity or a need or a ministry, or a gospel conversation needed to take place, we were going to step into that with as inadequate but willing of a yes as we knew how. And so sometimes that just looked like, opening our home to somebody that needed a place to stay, or somebody who needed a family. Sometimes it looked like moving, a single mom on our day off, or just meeting needs that were within our power to meet, because we wanted not just to talk about loving Jesus and talk about the difference he'd made in our lives, but we wanted to show it, and we wanted to give a willing yes, as often as we could.
It's good.
Now you can speak into that. We were talking about how we encourage the kids even to live out their gospel mission as well.
Yeah, well, we have different ways, I think, of each of us doing that. But when you're a parent, so much is caught, not taught, as you've heard. But if you live open-handed with people, if you say yes, if you talk about Jesus, if you walk around your house singing worship songs, if you share openly, if you invite the guy who's knocking on your door with the package in for a gospel conversation, you don't really have to teach it. Yeah. You just do it. So it's kind of like what he was saying. I think the way you greet people, I think the way you tell people goodnight, I think the way people see you coming and going with open arms and open hearts is really important. And I have to reset that all the time. But how you love openly is, to me, that's daily living out the gospel. Now, what that looks like for you and your own personality or your children's personalities can be different. How you're spiritually gifted is going to be different. But everybody has a mouth, and everybody's got actions they can do. So what that looks like for you in action, talk to your kids about it, and they'll catch it. They'll do it too.
And I think it's so much more powerful. We would have tension early on in our parenting because I would want to give a lecture and instruct them, like this is how, and I probably was raised somewhat with that, being taught that way.
Yeah.
I think it's sometimes even a generational thing, more intellectual, or this is the right behavior to have. And it would be easy for me to get on a soapbox and try to, lecture our kids into kingdom living or selfless living. And there's probably a place for that, explaining why we do or don't do certain behaviors, or why we, explaining why we choose to live a certain way. But I think Karissa's right. If our kids remember that our home was open, that we often had somebody in our guest room, that we had families live with us for, seasons at a time, that we loaned a car freely, that we moved somebody regularly, I think those are the things that they just observed how we lived, and it matched what we said. You know, it wasn't us talking about
most of the time
on our better days.
Yeah.
It wasn't us just talking about how we should live, but
Right.
it was living that way in a way that was consistent, you know, with grace. And there's a lot more power, I think, in that approach.
Absolutely. And I've had the benefit of having a front row seat to seeing you all live that out. And I've been blessed. My family have been blessed by watching you. We've caught a lot of the way that you guys live this out. And so for families who are sitting here wondering, okay, what's that look like for me? Like, what are some next steps, or just an easy way, simple ways to go, here's how your words can impact your kids, and here's how your kids' words can impact, you know, their friends and spread the good news of Jesus.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
You sure? Okay. Well, I was reading the passage that you sent us out of Colossians, and I was just so struck that Paul does this. Like he illustrates it. He says, continue steadfastly in prayer, being watchful with thanksgiving. That's how you do it. You give thanks. At the same time, pray also for us that God may open a door for the word. Look for open doors.
Wow.
For the word to be shared, to declare the mystery of Christ, on account of which I am in prison. And then he says, that I may make it clear. Make it clear. Like he tells how this can be shared in your home. And then what's amazing is in his final greetings in this section of chapter 4 of Colossians, he shows you how to do it. He calls the other people he lists in this passage, he calls them beloved. He calls them fellow servants, like he's promoting unity. He encourages their hearts. He talks about receiving instructions. He says, greet, welcome. He says, be fully assured. Give my greetings, read. I mean, I'm like, if you just do what Paul did in this little part of chapter 4, give thanks, greet people, receive instruction, call each other beloved. I mean, like there's so many just practical ways that he says, do this, continue steadfastly in this. And then he goes, okay, I'll do it right now.
Yeah.
I'll do it right now. And I'll show you how I talk to people that I care about in the church and my brothers and sisters. Anyway, it's just really sweet to see it in action. So I think it's knowing the word.
Yeah.
You just speak what God speaks. Say what God says. You'll get it right every time.
Yeah. And I think just really tangibly, and I have to break things down simply for my little brain, but I think sometimes having some routine things you say to your kids, they almost become little snicker, family jokes, but it's the stuff
they'll
that
make
your
fun of you for
kids
it. Yeah.
will remember.
But it's good.
We still remember fondly Karissa's dad saying to her growing up, hold the banner high.
Yeah.
And
remember whose you are.
We pass that on to our kids, to some degree. Remember whose you are. And those things just, they last, with our kids. So I would tell some parent, choose a family saying and just get in the habit of saying every day, remember whose you are. Wow. Or remember who loves you, something, and just try to create a habit that becomes a routine, that becomes an anchor, for that child, that they'll remember. My mom always said, or my dad always reminded me. And I think those bear a lot of fruit. I think trying to, again, if I'm just breaking it down really tangibly, Karissa has had to challenge me with this. Every day, say something encouraging or life-giving to your kid. And it could be the smallest thing. I told our youngest son, who's 20 now, just the other day, Kyler, I thought you did such a great job in the way that he had interacted with somebody that was kind of difficult. You did such a good job in not letting that get under your skin. And it was a minor thing, but I called out something specific in his life that day. And that's all it was. It wasn't a long conversation. There weren't tears shed and embraces, given. It was just, I saw that. I noticed it. You did a good job in that. And I think if you could go every day, try to go every day by saying one positive thing, specific thing, not, hey, you were fun today. Something specific they did. Hey, I appreciated that when you helped out with unloading the dishwasher. I noticed how you went in and, greeted your mother warmly at night, values that you want to reinforce, you were so kind to your brother. Thanks for helping pick up the toys, whatever it is at your stage of life. I think if you encourage your kids and called out one positive behavior a day, it would be, they're going to get used to that. And they're going to see you as a positive, life-giving, courage-giving parent.
Wow. This has been such a blessing. I know that many families are going to take a lot of good things from this. So thank you guys for being here. And
Thanks, it's good.
It's good.